Hey guys, welcome back. So, what we're going to be covering today specifically is expectations, and we're going to get to goals. But before we do that, before we even bother to do that, really, it's really necessary to understand like the four different stages of action and what's really required to get what most people think they want, right? Because a lot of people come into affiliate marketing sales in general, and this will, that I'm going to show you here today, will help you crush it in life, period. Relationships, money, affiliate marketing, sales, 9 to 5 doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because this is what it really boils down to at the core, right? In our last video, we talked about simplifying things and just being really real with yourself. Well, the reason I did that first is because, and if you haven't seen that, you might want to go see that video, the previous video, this one. But that being said, what we're going to talk about today is really the core of it, right? Because, well, I'll just spell it out for you. So four different versions of action, right? One is to do nothing. And I'm going to kind of lay out the obvious, right? To do nothing is just what it sounds like, right? You don't do anything, right? And there's various different reasons people do that. And we're not really going to go into those here. I'm sure you know what they are, right? Laziness, complacency, fear, all of those things. So if you're experiencing that, and you're just not doing anything and you're just paralyzed, then clearly you're not going to accomplish much, right? You start to get the feeling why I would want to talk about this before I talk to you about goals. It'll really make sense when we start talking about goals, if it doesn't right now. The other thing that people do, the other second type of action is to retreat, to run away, right? Why would people do that? Because maybe they have tried in the past, they put out some effort and they didn't get the result that they wanted, and their energy is to retreat. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Now, the third level of action is average levels of action, which I would say is where the majority of people fall, right? The majority of people fall into average levels of action. And that being said, they get average levels of results. So here's my question for everybody watching this video is when you really consider it, right, is that really what you want? If it is, great. But I have a question for you. Is it what you want or is it what you feel like you have to settle for? That would be my question when it comes to the idea of what you'd like to have versus what you feel like maybe is, quote, reasonable, right? Reasonable as per the terms of society and social narrative and all that kind of stuff. That's why we've been talking about all the things we've been talking about, because leading up to this, here's what I want you to realize. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you want to be a rock star, you got to do rock star shit. Well, here's what I find all the time. People come into sales in general, affiliate marketing or otherwise, and they have this notion that they really want to change their financial status, their internal feeling of their own capacity, their own ability to provide for themselves and their family. And they have it. I guarantee you they have it. Everybody has it. But what they don't understand is they don't set proper expectation, right? They go set some goals, and I'm not going to go into goals like I said so much in this video, but I'm going to go into what leads up to setting goals and what's required, what mindset you might want to be prepared for prior to setting goals so that you set the appropriate goal and obtain the goal or surpass the goal, right? Wouldn't that be cool? Surpass the goal. I'm going to show you how to dominate. I'm going to show you what it really takes. So let's talk about average levels of action for a minute. If you're setting average expectations, average goals, let's say, average behavior, average input, average amounts of action, and you're getting average results, doesn't that seem fair? Right? See, to me, that's why I say in my last video that life is simple, people complicated. Right? How many people do you know that put in average levels of results or actions, average levels of actions, get very average results, and then bitch about it? You see, I know a lot of them. I know a whole lot of them. Now, here's the reality of the situation. If they were being honest with themselves, if they simplified things and just really were brutally honest with themselves, they're getting what they deserve, right? So here's what I mean by that. There's a certain amount of service that you provide with your actions to other people, to society at large, to the world, to the universe. And those actions are rewarded to a certain degree. The more you serve, the more people you help, in other words, right? There's an old saying, if you can get everything you want, if you just help enough other people get what they want. Well, that being said, the more people you help, the more you're rewarded. So you're rewarded, A, by getting to help a bunch of people, and B, you're rewarded with, with money, with accolades, with whatever it is that you're seeking, right? So that being said, so many people on this planet pretend like, wow, I'm trying so hard. Are they really? I mean, when you compare it to when I say, if you want to be a rock star, you got to do rock star shit. Are they doing rock star shit? Or are they doing stagehand shit, wanting rock star wages? You see what I'm getting at? So you really got to get real with yourself. Average, let's just talk about that for a second, right? I don't have a dictionary in front of me, but look it up. It's not real impressive, the definition. It's not. And I'm not saying that you got to go out and light the world on fire, but I doubt that your goal is to be average, right? For those of you that have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, you've seen a kid. If somebody came to you and you were going to put your kid in this new school and they said to you, hey, look, we want to generate average students with average mindsets and we want them to be average. Don't worry, if they try to do anything rock star like or exceed expectations, we'll put them back in their place. We'll make sure they're ground down and they just stay average. Does that sound ridiculous? Would you ever go for that if that was your child or a child you even knew? Would you subject a child to that type of mentality? If your answer is no, then my question is, why do you accept that from social narrative, from society? And we'll talk more about that. But why do you accept that? Why is that reasonable for you if you would never subject a little child to that trusted you with their future? Why would you entrust your future to a social narrative, to an idea that says be average? See, I think it sucks personally. And that's just my opinion, right? Feel free to agree, disagree, whatever. I understand. But if you do disagree, do you really disagree? Or does the thought of being above average intimidate you or make you feel like you would have to be better than or step on people or do things that are against your nature, right? Because I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do any bad things. You might have to be uncomfortable. Because if that's what you're used to, then the idea of doing rock star shit probably is going to be uncomfortable, right? Almost without question, huh? But if you want rock star results, that's what you got to do, right? I'm sure that makes sense. So now, the last measure of action is massive action. So what does massive action look like? Well, massive action looks like, I train a lot of people, right? One of the things I do is I teach people how to make short form content. And I hear from people, well, it takes forever to make that little video. Well, the video is 30 seconds to 1 minute. It should not take forever. And if you do some practicing, it won't take forever. I rarely ever take more than one take to take a video. Hardly ever, right? Why? Because I took massive action and I learned how to do it. And I learned how to organize myself in a way that permits me to spend 1 minute making the video, 3 minutes editing the video, 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I can produce a whole lot of those in one day, right? Versus people that wallow in average and come up with excuses because they don't simplify things. You see where this is all tying together? They don't simplify things, so they allow themselves to make excuses due to the social narrative that they're conditioned with because they refuse to take on a massively, wildly new thought process and think for themselves. So what they're engaged in is old thought, trying to produce a new result. And what that does is it produces a bunch of reasons, also known as excuses, not to get done what's necessary to get where they want to go. You see where I'm going with this? This is how this all ties together. So me just sitting here telling you to take massive action, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you to realize all of the other pieces that we've put together so far have gotten this far. And now we're at the massive action stage that's actually going to produce a result. We're beyond psychobabble. We're beyond just talking about it. Now we're talking about what it's actually required to make a change, a substantial, notable change in your financial future, period. And it's called massive action. So what I'm asking you to do is consider the idea of stop eating the old bread that society is offering, the social narrative of average. And I want you to take my new pill. It's called massive action, right? And you don't literally need to take a pill, obviously. I'm joking, but listen, guys, I'm joking to a degree because this is what makes the difference, right? Average gets average results. Massive action gets massive results. Now, here's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. This is where some of the discomfort comes in. When you're doing average things, average people accept you for being average and doing average things. I want you to be prepared for something. When you start taking massive actions, you're going to get some kickback from people around you, right? I've been told I'm crazy. I've even been called manic, which I am not manic, by the way. I've been told I'm a workaholic. I've been told lots of things. But here's what I want you to note, and here's what I have personally noted in my life. Everybody who has ever said anything critical about my work ethic and my massive action has been somebody that has never accomplished a fraction of what I have. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm saying that to point out that people who have done more and have more than me, both financially as well as freedom, and capacity to help others, by the way, I would point out, is they have more of, have told me when they see me doing things that, hey, I can see you work really hard, but you know what you need to do? You need to do this, this, and this. They'll add to my list. And sometimes they subtract things that they don't think are as beneficial, right? They get to that stage. And when I say stage, I want to point something out here in this video. It's a stage. You know, when you hear people say, oh, I want to work smarter, not harder. So they spend their whole time wasting time with, quote, automated things that are going to make their business streamline so much faster. And really, it's just an excuse to avoid doing what they need to do. They're telling them, oh, I'm just in the future, it's going to pay off. Typically, guys, good old fashioned elbow grease is what pays off, right? Get in, make the content, get in front of people, eyeballs. This is what you care about, eyeballs. You need to be in front of millions of them, right? And that's what I say when I say set expectations. See, I think the majority of people come in with an average mindset and an average mentality in an average environment, doing average things, wanting rock star results. Never, ever, 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 ever in a million years going to happen, period. I don't care what you do. It's never going to happen. You see where I'm going? You have to be willing to take massive action. Now, is it hard? I don't think so. Here's what I found out. It takes more energy to procrastinate and come up with all that bullshit and all those reasons and all those excuses to make yourself feel bad. Because see, here's the thing about that. Wherever you go, there you are, right? You can bullshit other people, but when you're lying, you know you're lying. When you're making excuses, you know you're making excuses. It takes more of your life energy and sucks and depletes more from your spirit and your soul to lie to yourself than it does to just face it and do the thing you're scared to do. Most oftentimes what you find is, I mentioned in the video the other day, that monster's only big when you're running away from it. Most oftentimes you turn around and face it and it shrinks, right? So massive action. Massive action is the solution if you're not looking for average. Guys, if you're looking for average, cool. Look, I don't look down on it. What frustrates me is so many people do average things and want massive results, right? They want rockstar results. It doesn't work that way. So if you're happy with average results, congratulations. But if you're not, then do yourself a massive favor. Don't tell yourself how hard you're working and how hard you're pushing if you're really not pushing that hard. That's what I'm trying to say. Because again, you can't bullshit yourself. So don't try. Just be honest, right? I find that oftentimes what's best to do, right? I'm not going to get into that in depth, but I'll mention it. I actually put into my schedule time to procrastinate. Like literally, it says procrastination time because I like to procrastinate. I mean, that may sound silly, but I actually like to procrastinate. I'm really good at it. So you're not alone, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? A lot of very successful people that I know tend to lean towards procrastination, but they force themselves out of it by doing all of the things that I'm showing you here on this video series. Okay? So I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm not trying to be an authoritarian at all. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to share with you what it really takes to get brutally honest with yourself and have the life that you deserve, to have the things that you want, to have the things that you know you're capable of, but some invisible wall is in your way. I'm pointing right at the wall right now. I'm sharing with you what it takes. Your willingness to put down all of the baggage, all of the past, all of the excuses, all of the social narrative, all of those things that have become part of your awareness. You see, because it's real simple, guys. A, B, C, right? Leads to, right, the next letter. Always, every time. 2 and 2 is 4. A series of actions get a result. A series of actions get a result. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're born. What matters is that you do the things. That's what's so cool about sales. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's a level playing field. It doesn't give a damn about degrees. It doesn't give a damn about how smart you think you are. It cares about how much consistent action you will take to get a result, to earn the result, I would even say. Does that make sense? So now, if you do decide to take massive action, you're going to face some criticism from yourself, from the people around you. Here's the thing. I want you to, before you respond to it, I want you to consider the source, okay? Consider the source. Because this that I'm pointing out to you is the biggest reason that I see that people fail. They fail to understand the volume of contacts they have to make in order to have a successful sale. They fail to understand from beginning to end the volume of effort it will require. And see, this isn't to scare anybody because look, guys, if you got 2 hours a day to work on your new side hustle for a bit, fine, but work on it. Don't clean the office. Don't vacuum the floor. Don't prepare your paper clips. Don't go buy new pens. Use the old pen. Grab a scrap piece of paper and get to work. Do the things that actually produce results, right? We've been over those in a previous video as well. Those are the things, but do not underestimate the volume. Okay, and we're going to go into that when we talk about in the next video in setting goals, right? But this is the prep video to prep you for, hey guys, really consider the 4 different levels of action. Where do you fall? Be honest. You don't have to tell me or anybody else. If you want to, you can comment. Sure. But you don't need to necessarily. Just be honest with yourself and then determine, where am I going to go? If you're saying to me that, hey, I'm going to be, and there's variables, right? There's average and slightly above average, and then there's just rock star, and then there's, doing pretty well, right? There's all those things. So you need to determine where you're going to fall. And then once you do that, I'll help you set up some goals that will push you, right? Why do I say that? Because again, most people set goals, in my opinion, that frankly suck, right? They're not inspired. They're not motivated. They don't understand what it takes to keep themselves on track. It's usually some dollar amount that really isn't that exciting to them. It would be a little better, but if I get it, cool. If I don't get it, cool. That's not a goal. That's a wish, right? I'm going into goals now, so I'm going to stop because that's not for this video. But I really want you to firmly have a grip on all of the different levels of action, right? So you've got doing nothing, which is pretty obvious, right? You've got retreating, running away, whatever you want to call it. You've got average, and then you've got massive. Where are you going to fall in those 4 categories? Because you do. You fall somewhere in there, right? And I want you to be clear on something. Just because you fell in one yesterday doesn't mean you can't be in another one tomorrow. If that's your thinking, set down your baggage and let's move forward and build that life you know you deserve, okay? All right, guys. I'm going to shut it down there. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.